Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive. If you've been caught up in the whirlwind of the Empyrean series, you definitely know the kind of electrifying buzz a new release generates.
Oh, absolutely. It's huge every
It
time.
is. And today, we're plunging headfirst into the latest sensation, the book that has literally everyone in the romantasy world, that really potent blend of romance and fantasy talking.
Yep, it's all over the place.
It's the one that promises, well, really dramatic twists, gut-wrenching turns, and those emotional sucker punches you just don't see coming. We're talking, of course, about Onyx Storm.
Mm-hmm.
And our mission here, like always, is to take all the source materials, the articles, those really in-depth summaries, the fan insights, critical analyses, all of it, and distill them down into the most important nuggets of knowledge. Custom tailored for you, the curious learner who wants to be genuinely well-informed without, having to sift through mountains of stuff yourself.
That's right. No need to spend days on hundreds and hundreds of pages or get totally lost in those endless online discussion threads and fan theories. We've done the deep dive for you.
We have.
We're here to give you the shortcut, basically, to truly understanding Rebecca Yarros' highly anticipated third installment in the Empyrean series. It follows, obviously, the huge impact of Fourth Wing and Iron Flame.
Seismic impact is a good way to put it.
Yeah. Onyx Storm dropped on January 24th, 2025, and it has, well, absolutely, unequivocally shaken up the genre, no question.
And when we say shaken up, we really, really mean it. So what's on the docket for this deep dive?
Okay, let's lay it out.
We're going to explore how Onyx Storm doesn't just build on the world we thought we knew, but dramatically expands it, really pushing the boundaries of the whole saga.
Definitely. The scope just gets bigger.
Yeah, and we'll dissect its intricate, often pretty brutal plot. We'll delve into that absolutely shocking climax that left, well, I think many of us utterly bewildered.
Bewildered is the word, yeah.
We'll try to uncover the deeper, resonant themes woven throughout the pages, and finally analyze its phenomenal reception, which kind of cements its place as a real cultural event. So get ready, because this saga just keeps getting more epic.
Buckle up.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. Onyx Storm throws us immediately, like right back into the deep end, deeper into the high-stakes world that was established in the previous books, but the threats feel even greater, more pervasive somehow. And the alliances, they feel incredibly dangerously fragile.
Yeah, definitely.
It's no longer just about what's happening inside Bastiath walls, is it? The world feels undeniably bigger now, and the danger far more immediate.
It's a massive expansion of scope, you're right. And at the absolute heart of this global threat, which is escalating with, frankly, terrifying speed, is the presence of the Venin.
Right, the Venin.
These aren't just, isolated villains popping up here and there. Our sources really paint them as a truly pervasive, relentless force. They're these magic-wielding antagonists totally bent on destruction and draining all life. Yeah, and what's critical here, based on what we've gathered, is that their power isn't static. It seems to grow almost exponentially with every successful attack, every place they drain, every person they corrupt. They represent this overarching, existential enemy, far more dangerous than anything the protagonists have faced before.
It sounds like a blight, almost.
Exactly, a blight spreading across the land, and the urgency of that threat, it's palpable on pretty much every page you read.
And to face them, this overwhelming force, we see this forced, almost desperate formation of a remarkably fragile alliance between the two kingdoms that were previously at war, Navarre and Poromil.
Which is huge.
It's monumental. It's an almost unbelievable shift from the, centuries of animosity we saw laid out in Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. But is it really an alliance, or is it more like a desperate coexistence?
Oh, it's absolutely the latter. And our sources highlight this in really vivid detail. The inherent distrust, the deep-seated political tension that constantly complicates this partnership.
It makes sense.
Yeah, this alliance is born purely out of necessity, right? A common enemy forcing former adversaries to work together. But it's far from seamless. Think about, bringing two estranged families together under one roof during a massive crisis. There are going to be constant frictions.
Totally.
And the book meticulously illustrates this. We see specific examples, immediate clashes in strategy, how resources are allocated, particularly between Navarre's Dragon Riders and Poromil's Griffin Riders. Their prejudices run centuries deep.
That old rivalry is hard to shake.
Exactly. Certain high-ranking Navarrian nobles, the ones still clinging to the old ways, they actively undermine Poromil's contributions. They still see them as rivals first, allies second. It's this tightrope walk where every single diplomatic step could lead to disaster. It's constantly reminding you, the reader, that even with this overwhelming external threat, those old animosities can still hamstring the entire war effort.
Wow. That raises a really powerful insight, actually. What's truly fascinating here, as you're describing it, is how this external global threat from the Venin isn't just some backdrop. It's deeply, almost agonizingly intertwined with the incredibly personal stakes for our main characters.
Very personal.
It's not just about saving a kingdom or even two kingdoms fighting together. It's about individual survival, these profound internal transformations, and this relentless fight against an encroaching darkness that threatens to consume the very people they love most.
And right at the very core of those intense personal stakes is Azaden, Violet's partner.
Yes, Aiden.
His condition becomes absolutely critical in Onyx Storm. He's slowly, agonizingly succumbing to Venin power. It's a direct consequence, we know, of his desperate actions at the end of Iron Flame.
Right, to save Violet.
Exactly. And this isn't just a physical ailment, like a sickness. Our sources really emphasize it's a profound, terrifying transformation that threatens his very being, his soul, everything that makes him him. We see these early signs, apparently, of his essence subtly changing. His eyes sometimes flickering that amber color, his control slipping maybe. It's described as a really haunting portrayal of a ticking clock.
And that ticking clock scenario, it provides this immense, almost unbearable amount of personal motivation for Violet, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Her entire drive throughout the book, from what we gather, becomes finding a cure for Azaden. This isn't some side plot you can just skim over.
No way.
It's the beating heart of the narrative. It ties that macro conflict, the big Venin war, directly to Violet's deepest emotional core and her unwavering, almost obsessive loyalty. She takes huge risks, she defies orders, she makes sacrifices, all fueled by this profound personal mission. She's not just fighting for Navarre anymore, she's fighting for the man she loves. And you, the reader, you feel every single ounce of that desperation.
You really do. It's palpable.
And frankly, if you're anything like me, you're just as desperate for her to succeed. So, okay, with these huge global threats looming and Zaiden's escalating crisis, Violet herself is really thrown into the deep end, isn't she?
Completely.
Our sources hint that her journey in Onyx Storm goes way beyond just fighting Venin monsters. What kind of, intricate political chess and dangerous encounters does she actually have to navigate in this book?
She's pushed to her absolute limits, honestly. The internal political tensions within Navarre itself are this constant, insidious undercurrent. Despite the overwhelming existential threat of the Venin just outside the wards, that deep-seated distrust among the Navarre nobles, it persists.
It's unbelievable.
It often mirrors this fundamental disagreement between the old guard, who want things the way they were, and those who recognize the desperate need for radical change. This internal conflict, our sources really emphasize this, adds a significant layer of complexity to the whole struggle. It forces Violet to fight battles on multiple fronts at the same time.
Wow.
It's a stark reminder that even when you're facing a common enemy, those old animosities and power struggles can still hamstring your collective efforts. It's frustrating, but realistic in a way.
And Violet, being Violet, she doesn't just sit around waiting for others to fix things, right? She apparently engineers this incredibly ingenious, almost defiant, covert fix. Something that allows the Griffin Riders, who are essential allies from Poromiel, to actually use magic within Navarre's borders.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It sounds like a move of immense strategic genius, but it totally flies in the face of tradition, doesn't it?
It absolutely does, and it's a brilliant display of her strategic cunning. This maneuver is depicted as having huge strategic importance. It's not just a magical workaround. It's described as a crucial step in truly strengthening the pact with Poromiel and unifying their forces against the Venin.
How does she even do that?
Well, the sources detail the mechanics a bit. Violet apparently leverages a deeper understanding of magic's flow and these ancient wards, creating a temporary, almost symbiotic conduit. It bypasses the long-standing magical block between the two cultures. It really showcases Violet's ability to think outside the box, even when she's operating within this incredibly rigid traditional system. And this raises a critical question, really, about leadership in times of crisis.
Right.
How far must you go? What rules do you have to bend or even break to secure necessary alliances and achieve vital objectives, especially when you're facing entrenched internal resistance and you know there's going to be punishment?
Right.
Her actions here really define her as a leader who prioritizes the greater good, regardless of the personal cost. And the novel apparently provides specific, really tense scenes of her implementing this plan under extreme secrecy.
And speaking of personal cost, her ingenuity doesn't exactly go unpunished, does it?
Not at all.
She gets sent off to some remote military outpost as a disciplinary action, but ironically, this punishment ends up placing her directly in harm's way. It sets up this truly chilling, almost psychological encounter.
Yes, that's where we meet Theophany.
Theophany, okay?
She's described as a silver-haired Vian, and our sources highlight her as particularly powerful and cunning. She's a lightning-wielding maven.
Oh, like Violet.
Exactly. And what makes this encounter so disturbing isn't just the physical danger, although that's definitely there. It's Theophany's specific attempt to recruit Violet.
Recruit her to the Venan side.
Yeah. This isn't just a fight, it's portrayed as a terrifying psychological chess match. Theophany tries to exploit Violet's deepest fears and insecurities. She whispers promises of power, of control. She subtly twists Violet's overwhelming desire to save Zayden into a justification for embracing Venan power herself.
Oh, that's dark.
It really hints at the Venans' manipulative strategies. Their desire isn't just to destroy, but to corrupt and assimilate powerful individuals into their ranks. The interaction is apparently prolonged and deeply unsettling. It reveals a more insidious, intelligent threat than just brute force. It forces Violet to confront her own inner demons, the terrifying allure of that forbidden power. It definitely solidifies Theophany as a truly memorable antagonist.
Wow. Okay. As if things weren't complicated enough, right? You've got Satan's condition, the main Venan threat, internal politics, and then the Cenarium, the governing body, tasks Violet with this absolutely crucial, almost mythological mission.
Yeah, another thing piled on.
Locating the seventh dragon breed, known only as the Irids. This suddenly becomes central to the entire war effort.
The belief, apparently rooted in ancient prophecies and some cryptic texts discovered by the Cenarium, is that the Irids possess this unique, incredibly potent power. And it's the key, maybe the only key to countering the Venan threat.
So like a silver bullet.
Kind of. This quest isn't just a side adventure. It's directly linked to the overarching conflict. It underscores this desperate, almost last-ditch search for any advantage against such a formidable and relentless enemy. It reintroduces an element of ancient, possibly forgotten magic, a lost piece of their world's history, into this modern struggle. It gives the narrative an almost Indiana Jones-like feel, discovery and peril.
That's a great way to put it. So what does this all mean for Violet's understanding of the world? This quest for the Irids, it takes her far beyond the familiar academy walls, right? Beyond Navarre's borders, into these unfamiliar, often magicless territories. It sounds like a profound journey of discovery for her, and for us, the readers, too. It expands the very fabric of the Empyrean universe.
It absolutely broadens the geographical and magical scope of the series in a truly significant way. Violet's perilous journey takes her through this series of previously unexplored, often magicless southern isles: Deverelli, Sonoram, Hedotus, and Zelina.
Wow, new places.
Yeah, and each of these locations adds a new dimension to the world building. They showcase diverse cultures, unique challenges, the lasting impact of historical conflicts. Take Deverello, for instance. Unlike the territories we've seen before, it's fiercely independent and deeply distrustful of Navarre, rooted in centuries of unresolved border disputes.
So she can't just march in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Violet couldn't simply walk in and demand answers. She had to navigate this complex web of local politics, deal with wary village elders. It shows a diplomatic skill we haven't really seen from her before.
Okay, so what happens there?
Well, the sources detail two particularly significant events in Deverelli. First, Violet gains access to Zayden's relief, which is absolutely crucial for his worsening condition.
Okay, good.
But it wasn't just handed over. It was guarded by this reclusive, almost legendary scholar, a former Navarrian alchemist, who demanded something incredibly valuable in return. A rare, irreplaceable artifact from Violet's own family lineage.
Oh, wow, personal cost again.
Yeah. It tested her loyalty and commitment to Zayden, forcing a really difficult personal sacrifice. Second, she discovers critical texts that could be vital for the Venan cure.
The cure, okay.
But these weren't in some public library. They were hidden within an ancient, forgotten shrine, protected by a series of arcane riddles and magical traps that Violet had to decipher using her smarts, showcasing a mental agility far beyond just her physical combat skills.
So it's not just about fighting.
Not at all. These aren't just plot points. They're intricate tests of her diplomatic acumen, her strategic thinking, and her willingness to sacrifice personal heirlooms for a larger cause. Deverelli especially acts as this microcosm of the larger global tensions. It forces Violet to confront the legacy of past conflicts, even as she battles this new, overarching one. And of course, the ultimate, highly anticipated encounter with the Irids happens in one of these remote, previously unknown locations, bringing a true sense of ancient mystery right to the forefront.
Okay, the Irids. The big moment.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the Irids' subsequent rejection of Violet is a truly pivotal, heart-wrenching moment.
They reject her after all that.
They do. And the insight here isn't just that ancient powers are fickle or uncooperative. It's that historical grievances and deeply held principles can, for beings like the Irids, supersede even the most immediate world-ending crises. Their refusal to aid Violet, based on the accusation that she used Andarna, her second dragon, as a weapon during the events of Iron Flame, it profoundly deepens our understanding of these ancient powers. It shows their unbending morality and the lasting consequences of seemingly necessary past actions.
So her actions in the last book came back to bite her.
Exactly. It forces Violet and us as readers to confront this uncomfortable truth. Even seemingly heroic actions, born of desperation and the highest stakes, can have unforeseen and, from an outside ancient perspective, deeply unethical ramifications. It challenges the very notion of the greater good, when ancient, unyielding morality is brought into the mix. It makes Violet grapple with the complex legacy of her own choices. It's a moment that leaves her and the reader just truly reeling.
And then, just when you think you've maybe got your footing, maybe things are looking slightly up for Violet, Rebecca Yarros pulls the biggest rug out from under you.
She does love a twist.
Oh boy, does she. Like all good fantasy novels, Onyx Storm culminates in an absolutely explosive, almost apocalyptic climax that leaves you breathless and utterly, utterly bewildered, questioning everything you thought you knew.
The battle for Basgiath is depicted as a full-scale, devastating Venin-led assault, a confrontation of immense chaotic scale and intensity. Our sources detail the sheer brutality, Venin swarming from every direction, new horrific Venin abilities being unleashed, the very ground of Basgiath under siege.
Terrifying.
It's the kind of climactic showdown that readers have been building towards for 2 whole books, bringing all the threads of conflict to this terrifying head, with characters fighting desperately on multiple fronts. The atmosphere is described as thick with despair and just the sheer will to survive.
And naturally, Violet is right in the thick of it, wielding her lightning with, I assume, devastating force.
Oh yeah. Her role in this battle is absolutely pivotal. It's highlighted by her brutal slaying of Theophany, that cunning, lightning-wielding Naven we talked about earlier.
She gets her.
But it wasn't a solo feat. Our sources emphasize she achieved it with crucial, seamless help from her dragons, Andarna and Tarn. It showcases the astonishing power and synchronization of their combined bond, a true testament to their evolving connection. It's a moment of triumph, for sure, but it comes with immense cost all around.
But while Violet is, making progress on the battlefield, Xaidan's journey during this assault takes a much, much darker and more ominous turn.
Yeah, this is where it gets really scary for him.
Our sources indicate he channels the earth in this act of profound desperation, a dangerous, terrifying new manifestation of his power. But more significantly, to protect Violet and their allies, he delves even deeper into Venin power. He visibly consumes more of its corruption.
Oh, no.
This moment has profound, chilling implications for his future, and by extension, the entire direction of the series. The description of his transformation is apparently vivid and horrifying, painting a picture of an irreversible shift. It feels like a sacrifice or maybe a transformation that's just irreversible. It leaves you, the reader, with this deep sense of dread.
And what's truly fascinating here is the immediate aftermath of this huge climactic battle. It introduces layers of mystery and profound personal sacrifice that fundamentally alter Violet's reality and the entire course of the narrative. It's not just one bombshell. It's like a rapid-fire series of revelations that really sets the stage for what comes next. It left readers' jaws just on the floor.
And what bombshells they are. Violet's awakening after the battle is jarring, to say the very least. She wakes up to find Xaidan, now with those distinctive, terrifying amber eyes that signify Venin corruption, completely gone, just vanished without a trace. It intensifies that dread you were just talking about for him.
But that's only the first shock. The true bombshell, a revelation that comes totally out of nowhere for both Violet and the reader, is the reveal that Violet is legally married to Xaidan.
Married? When did that happen?
Exactly. Our sources delve into the implications.
Yeah.
This isn't just some casual promise. It's described as a binding, legal, and magical contract. Who performed it? When did it happen? And maybe most importantly, why was it kept secret? It raises immediate, urgent questions about the context and validity of this union, especially given the next, even more astonishing twist.
Okay, what could possibly top that?
And then, the most astonishing twist of all, the one that truly unravels everything we thought we knew. Violet has absolutely no memory of these recent pivotal events,
No memory. Of what?
of the battle of Zayden's disappearance, and crucially, of her own marriage.
On what?
It's revealed this memory loss is due to a profound self-induced erasure.
She did it to herself?
This creates this massive narrative void for her. She's lost crucial time, crucial experiences, crucial emotions, and the understanding of her own profound choices.
Yeah.
And for us, the listener, it creates this incredible, almost agonizing tension because we know things she doesn't. We're left wondering how she'll ever piece it back together, or if she even can. The sheer weight of that decision to deliberately forget, it's a staggering burden for her character to bear.
Oh my God.
Precisely. The book closes on this multi-layered emotional cliffhanger that is nothing short of brutal. You have Zayden's horrifying transformation and mysterious disappearance, the bombshell of their secret marriage, and then Violet's profound self-inflicted memory loss. This ending leaves Violet's immediate future, her understanding of her own past, her very identity, and indeed the future of the entire world, profoundly, agonizingly uncertain. It's a masterful, if incredibly cruel way to conclude a book. It leaves readers not just clamoring for the next installment, but almost desperate for answers to these staggering questions.
Wow, okay. So let's unpack this a bit further then. Onyx Storm isn't just about the dragons and the battles and clearly these insane cliffhangers. Our sources really underscore how this book significantly expands the world and deepens the characters, forcing us, to think about bigger ideas beyond just the immediate plot twists.
You're absolutely right. Our sources highlight how the novel truly broadens the Empyrean saga far beyond the familiar academy walls of Banjith. We're no longer just confined to training drills and skirmishes. Onyx Storm delves into totally new complexities.
Like what specifically?
Well, we see international diplomacy on a much grander scale than before. There were specific treaty negotiations, detailed, delicate, often really tense cross-border missions described in our sources. There are intricate political machinations at play between nations, but also within the various factions. You have rival noble houses, dissenting councils, all vying for power, even as this massive Venan threat looms.
So it adds layers.
Exactly. It adds a layer of intricate realism and depth to the fantastical setting. It feels more complex.
And it's not just politics, right? The magic systems themselves continue to evolve.
Yeah, definitely. We see new applications, new limitations, new possibilities for wielding magic, pushing the boundaries of what writers can actually do. Plus, the exploration of diverse cultures outside of Navarre, like that fiercely independent Deverelli we talked about, or the distinct traditions of Poromil, it truly gives the world a much richer, more lived-in, and more believable feel.
It sounds like the world is genuinely growing alongside the characters, revealing layers we never knew existed.
Which is crucial, I think, for the longevity of a series like this. It ensures it doesn't become stagnant. And within this increasingly complex world, Violet undergoes this really significant progression into leadership.
Yeah, tell me about that.
It's not just about her raw power or her ability to fight anymore. It's about her strategic insights and actions, particularly in that audacious covert fix for the Griffin writers we mentioned. But maybe more importantly, it's her profound emotional growth and resilience. She's facing constant pressure, betrayal, profound personal challenges, like Zayden's worsening condition, and her own really difficult moral dilemmas.
She handles a lot.
She really does. And this raises an important question for you, the listener. What kind of leader is Violet truly becoming? Is she someone who rigidly sticks to the traditional rules, or is she someone who bends them for the greater good, even at immense personal cost? Our sources illuminate the sacrifices she makes, from physical endurance to emotional vulnerability, even giving up personal heirlooms. Her journey is deeply tied to the very nature of leadership in a world teetering on the brink. It's constantly forcing her to weigh the needs of the many against the suffering of the few, and sometimes the agonizing suffering of just one person she loves.
That's heavy. The novel also seems to really dig into the powerful duality of power itself. Magic, for instance, is constantly portrayed as both this terrifying weapon for mass destruction and simultaneously a miraculous blessing for creation, for healing, for profound connection.
That's a great point.
It's not just a tool, it seems to have inherent moral implications, and Yarros explores that ethical tightrope with masterful precision, from what the sources say.
Absolutely. The core insight here, I think, is that while raw power is undeniably seductive, true strength in the Empyrean saga seems to lie in the nuanced understanding and the moral application of that power.
Right.
We see instances where Violet, despite having immense lightning abilities, still grapples with the ethical weight of her choices, particularly when you compare her path to Xaden's increasingly dark journey into Venan corruption. It forces us to ask, can such destructive power ever truly be wielded for pure good? Or does it inevitably demand a sacrifice, demanding a piece of the wielder's soul?
Deep question.
Yeah, and this duality extends beyond magic to the core relationships, too. That ongoing tension between bond and control is a central theme, whether it's in romantic relationships like Violet and Xaden's, or with the powerful dragons themselves, and Darna and Tarn, or even within oneself. Characters struggle to control their own burgeoning powers or impulses, especially with Xaden's very essence being corrupted by the Venom. This constant tension adds this profound psychological depth to the action and the character arcs. It's not just swords and sorcery.
And of course, we really can't talk about the Empyrean series without talking about the romance, which is arguably what truly rocketed it to superstardom in the first place.
The romantasy element is key.
Totally. Our sources acknowledge that the romance between Violet and Xaden intensifies even further in Onyx Storm. It reaches new emotional and dramatic peaks. It's a huge defining part of the series' appeal, no doubt about it.
It absolutely is, and it's met with a really fascinating spectrum of opinions from the fanbase, which is always intriguing to observe.
Oh yeah, what are people saying?
Well, some fans absolutely relish the emotional depth and intensity of the relationship. They appreciate the raw vulnerability, the high-stakes drama, the passionate connection that continues to develop, even amidst the chaos of war. They see it as this powerful portrayal of love under duress, a true chosen one kind of romance.
Okay, I get that.
However, other readers critique what they perceive as maybe recurring angst, or the reliance on certain romantic tropes that might feel repetitive or even frustrating after 3 books. Things like miscommunication or dramatic separations, that sort of thing.
Ah, okay. So not everyone's on board with every aspect.
Exactly. And this range of opinions simply illustrates the immense level of reader engagement and the diverse preferences within the whole romantasy genre. It highlights that even within a massively popular series, not every single element resonates equally with every single reader. And it definitely sparks lively debates in the fan communities online.
That makes sense. So, okay, zooming out, what does this all mean for the world of books and the wider pop culture landscape? Onyx Storm wasn't just another book release. It truly felt like an event, a phenomenon that transcended the pages themselves.
That's the perfect word for it. Phenomenon.
Yeah.
Our sources are very clear on its immediate, almost jaw-dropping commercial success. We're talking truly record-breaking pre-sale numbers that dwarfed previous fantasy bestsellers. It dominated online retailers for months before it even came out.
Wow.
And the sales figures are just astonishing. Over 2.7 million copies sold in its launch week alone.
2.7 million. In a week.
In a week. So to put that in perspective, that's not just a hit book, that's a cultural moment. A true blockbuster success that completely reshaped publishing expectations for the year. It proved, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the romantasy genre has massive, undeniable mainstream appeal.
Yeah, you can't argue with those numbers, and critics have certainly taken notice, right? Both the sales and the content itself.
They have.
There seems to be a lot of observation that Onyx Storm effectively mixes those traditional young adult or YA tropes people draw comparisons to massive franchises like Harry Potter's Academy setting and that chosen one narrative, or maybe the Hunger Games high-stakes rebellion feel.
Familiar touchstones.
Right, but it mixes those with more mature romantasy elements. This includes the explicit romantic intensity we just discussed, but also more complex moral ambiguities and a grittier portrayal of war than you might typically see in YA.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this blend highlights a really significant and fascinating trend in the broader fantasy genre right now. It shows how authors are expertly appealing to a wide demographic, from younger adult readers who appreciate those familiar YA elements to older readers who enjoy more mature themes and explicit romance, and in doing so, they're pushing the boundaries of what these genres can even encompass.
It's like carving out a new space.
Exactly. It's not just traditional fantasy anymore. It's this specific subgenre that has truly exploded in popularity, cultivating an incredibly dedicated readership. Onyx Storm is just a prime example of its success. It demonstrates that this hybrid approach can achieve unparalleled commercial and cultural impact.
And the fans. Oh, the fans. Their enthusiasm has been absolutely immense, driving so much of this phenomenon.
The fan energy is incredible.
We're talking widespread midnight release parties at bookstores all over the globe, some incredibly elaborate costume events with fans dressing up as their favorite dragons or riders, even author appearances drawing truly enormous crowds with lines stretching for blocks and blocks. It really highlights the transformative power of community, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. This level of fan engagement goes way beyond just reading a book. It fosters this vibrant, active, global community around the series. People connect, they share theories, they create fan art, they celebrate together. This deepens the series' cultural impact, transforming it from just a popular book into a true phenomenon that transcends the pages and creates this shared immersive experience for millions of people.
It's amazing.
It's a testament to the captivating world Yarros has created and the passionate connection readers feel to her characters and her story. It ensures the hype just builds exponentially for every new installment.
And that brings us pretty much to the end of our deep dive into Onyx Storm. So to recap briefly, this book successfully broadens the Empyrean saga into truly ambitious political and mystical territory. It moves far beyond the Academy walls and into a global conflict.
Big expansion.
Huge. It dramatically deepens Violet's evolution into a complex, often morally challenged leader, facing these tense moral and emotional dilemmas at pretty much every turn. High stakes, dramatic revelations, and that utterly lingering, gut-wrenching cliffhanger are definitely its hallmarks. It sets a truly compelling, if terrifying, stage for the series' next chapters.
It's a testament really to the power of a well-crafted world and characters that can inspire such fervent devotion and endless discussion.
Absolutely. And as you go about your day, we want to leave you with a truly provocative thought, something to mull over until the next installment inevitably drops.
Okay, lay it on us.
Consider the full, staggering weight of Violet's self-induced memory erasure. What are the long-term, perhaps even unforeseen consequences of intentionally forgetting crucial traumatic events, especially when her partner Xaden is now transformed by Venan corruption and mysteriously gone? How will she even begin to rebuild trust with him, assuming he even comes back in a way she recognizes? Or indeed, how does she rebuild her own identity when a part of her past, a very significant defining part, is purposefully blank?
That's a big question.
What will this mean for the fragile alliance against the Venan, a war that desperately needs unity and trust? And maybe most fundamentally, what will it mean for the very nature of her bond with Xaden as they face an even more uncertain future without those key shared memories? Perhaps a future where she has forgotten the very foundations of their love.
Wow. It leaves so much open for speculation, doesn't it? The possibilities for how she navigates that void are endless and undoubtedly fraught with peril.
It certainly does. We definitely encourage you to explore the existing fan theories, join the anticipation online, and maybe dive into this captivating, bewildering series yourself if you haven't already. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.